It is time to strengthen your faith, deepen your understanding of the Word of God, move from poverty to prosperity, and rest in the wealthy place. Join Dr. Osara Emafai, the lead pastor of the Lakeview Foursquare Gospel Church, Lagos, Nigeria, and founder of Ed John School of Management, an alumnus of Oxford University, Cranfield University, Hertfordshire University, and University of Lagos, for an informative, educative, and impactful program, Wealthy Place. Join us on Foursquare TV.
My name is Dr. Osara Emafai, the lead pastor of the Lakeview Foursquare Church. I'm a development economist, and I will be talking to you on the power of imagination. Because when you begin to look at the power of imagination, part 2, because when I spoke on the big picture, I actually was speaking on power of imagination as well, and to look at the acronym and to look at the size to that acronym. So power of imagination is so important to life because it can change your paradigm to another. It can move you from one level to another level. The imagination is so critical. So, and it's my pleasure to really welcome you to this episode today. And I hope that if you'll be watching, you'll be benefiting from this program, The Wealthy Place. The Wealthy Place meant for you is meant for each and everyone. When I was starting The Wealthy Place, it was actually meant for teenagers and youths. But I'll be having feedbacks about adults who telling me that their lives changed since they started watching The Wealthy Place. And some of those feedback, some of the feedback is what I'm using in subsequent episodes. For instance, when I did part 2 of Whose Child You Are, part 3 of Whose Child You Are, I did those episodes because of the feedback. And that's why I did those episodes. Today, I'm focusing on the power of imagination. Imagination is the basis upon which Jack Welch formulated a groundbreaking paradigm called the boundaryless paradigm. And at some point, so many ministers in our organization were actually calling me that a boundaryless because I was teaching it at ministers program. They were inviting me to come and teach it. So I would teach them on boundaryless. And they began calling me boundaryless. So until I think some of them got tired, so they don't call me boundaryless anymore. And this idea is not mine. It came from Jack Welch, who was the CEO of GE. I was reading his book, a very, very big book, about the transformation of GE to become, at that point in time, when I read it, it was the #1 company in the world, boundaryless. And what is this boundaryless about? It's out of a power of imagination. It stems from this. Boundaryless is first and foremost about living a life without boundaries and compartments. You really live a life without compartments. I've had people who said, my life at work is different from my life in the family, different from my life in the church, in the spirit realm, that my life is in compartments. People who live in compartments cannot benefit from boundaryless, the momentum in boundaryless. There is a content in boundaryless. You really can't benefit when you have 4 lives in one. We are not called by God to have 4 or 5 lives. We are called to have one. That is why it's called single eye. When you go to scripture talking about single eye, what it's talking is that being one. And that one, when he wants to take it to another level of that one, is being whole. In other words, there should be no compartments in your life. There will be no departments. So that is why I can wake up by 1 a.m. and start writing something. My work, my family, my church service, my work in the ministry, every single one flows into the other. That's the concept of boundaryless. There are no compartments. That is why when you are a Christian, you don't go and have a secret girlfriend and say that one doesn't concern me, that's my private life, it's different from my church life. Or then you go and be stealing money somewhere and you say, no, that one was in the office, it has nothing to do. I was watching one of the programs on Foursquare TV when they were calling somebody confirmed. So in the church, this man was a teacher in the church and all that. But in the office, he was stealing money, and he will aggregate money and all that, and he was stealing. And anytime when the boss would call, he says, "It's confirmed. It's confirmed." His name became confirmed because he was living a false life in church, in the office. So when they then came to the church, they then found out this man is. And so these are the things. A boundaryless is essentially about living a life without compartments. Your life one flows into the other. There's transparency. It is fluid and liquid. That's your life. Now, a life of seamless flow between every domain of your life is a life based on boundaryless. And it comes out of the imagination that you carry. It's about the removal of any form of limitation from one's life, beginning from the mind. So when you are removing every limitation from your life, starting from your mind, you are actually living a life of boundaryless. So it's about a mind transformation. Boundaryless is anchored on the transformation of the mind. And so when Jack White were talking about it, they said this man, goes to one church, he's not a Christian. But it was essentially based on Christian ethos. It was actually based on the Bible that it was. So there's so much of Western philosophy and Western criticality that so many people see when they go onto these Western countries. And they don't know they are based on a Christian culture. On the Bible. It's just for you to then have a discerning eye to actually see that this is actually based on the scriptures. So it's about removing as I said, of any form of limitation from your life, from one's life, beginning from the mind. It's about mind transformation. It's about finding a better way, daily, as an essence of behavior and living. You are a better way. There's always a better way every day. Don't always be talking, that's the way we're doing it. There are still some churches in Foursquare now, we see churches around. They still think the better way of ministry is that until everybody comes to church, they want to do small meeting between council until everybody is huddled in one little room, that whatever. All our council meetings in the zone now is virtual. It's virtual meeting. People are in their homes, eating their meals. We're having meeting, everybody living in comfort. You are not going to go into traffic. Better ways every day. How do we make it better? You find churches that are staying behind, still in Stone Age. Every meeting must be done physical. Our own church, for instance, we call it a church without walls. That's our church. That's the name we give our church. Church without walls, because we are ministering to more people outside the walls than within the walls. And that is a paradigm shift. That's a way. New things, new ways every day. Looking for a better way to do things that will give you better results and magnify your impact. It is also to lay a foundation for social and managerial architecture of an organization. So I'm taking from the individual now to an organizational level. How do you lay a foundation for social and managerial architecture? Managerial means how do you have to bring resources together to produce results that will be solution to somebody's problem? How do you develop the organizational offering in such a way that it make a difference? It's about a difference in an organization by creating a difference in our thinking process. Because whatever we are able to do in the organization depends first on our thinking process. What do we think in our minds? So boundaryless is about your thought process. Is it a thought process that is in cubicles, or is a free flowing thought process? Is that the kind of thing? So when you look at boundaryless, it's a thought process that is just fluid. Every department, every compartment of the living, they are all intertwined and they all flow together. And that itself begins to affect the way you do your own living, how you live your life. It's about looking and reviewing our competencies from time to time. You are reviewing your competencies. And holding those competencies. And the area where you don't have the competency, where you need competencies for the assignment that you have. Assignment from God, an assignment in your place of work, assignment in your church. Holding those competencies. How do I hold those competencies? How do I get them? Anticipating competing ideas. There are always ideas coming in every single day, competing ideas. How do I mirror those competing ideas? All those are within the domain of boundaryless. It's about continual learning and driving results, boundaryless. So, So now let me give you a bit of a capsule of that principle. So I'll just give you a couple of the capsule. The capsule, some people will call it a syllabus. I have Pastor Innocent, my husband, he calls that, what I call a capsule, call it syllabus. And that syllabus, and I'll just take you through that syllabus. And there are this. One, finding better ways every day of your life. Is there a better way I can do what is my life today, tomorrow? It's a commitment to excellence. Commitment to excellence. For those who come to our church, they'll find it. People say, oh my God, we've gone around churches, bigger whatever. But when they enter our church, they say there's a different feel. Excellence. Excellence is not about size. It's about quality. So when you commit to quality, you commit to excellence, you're actually walking within that paradigm. Boundaryless. Number 2, workout. What is workout? That's the number 2 nuggets in it. Workout means every time you are testing your knowledge, you are testing it. It's a workout. The way you work out physically, you work out intellectually, you work out in your knowledge. You are testing the ideas. You get competing ideas. You are testing it. And what comes out? What some people call praxis. Praxis is a combination of theory and practice. When they come together and they produce a product, we call it praxis. That is in philosophy. So I don't want to go into the realm of philosophy, so I don't begin to talk to some may not be interested in that. So that's praxis. So working out is about testing your ideas and testing your principles on a daily basis as a way of bringing a better principle upon which you govern your own living in the next day and the next minute. Then the next one in that capsule is results and not rhetorics. You come onto places where people are in rhetorics. Oh, they can go in and analyzing from here till tomorrow till the dogs or whatever come to roost. There is nothing in their lives. So on boundaryless, what we tend to focus on is process and results, no rhetorics. Rhetorics don't help anything. And that is what is detaining so many churches not moving forward. That is what is detaining so many lives being held bound. That's what is detaining so many organizations. They believe so many rhetorics. Hold meeting and be holding meeting 12 days. You'll be talking about all kinds of things rather than looking at process and looking at results. So boundaryless is about results and processing and not rhetorics. Results based on proper values. So it's not just based on any value. They are based on proper values. Because there are some people, they say the end justifies the means. They don't really care how they get there. If they kill 10 pastors to become a deal, it doesn't really matter. That is not what he's talking about. There are values in it to get it to those points. So is learning from others, is boundaryless. Result based on value, learning from others, boundaryless. Value-based motivation. In other words, when you are motivated, self-motivation, whatever it is, is based on value. You want to move to a lower level of being, of providing support for humanity, of making a difference in the life of humanity to a higher level, of making that difference. That is boundaryless. Capacity of building through knowledge and sharing knowledge. Boundaryless in some way also underscores mentoring. So teaching, reproducing, it's about reproducing yourself. Magnify your impact through reproduction. It's about succession planning. Because you are not truly a successor until you have a successor. And it's about agility. How agile are you? It means flexibility. How agile are you in assignments? How agile are you? How are you able to turn yourself around? In the different domains that you are invited to be a part of the kingdom of God in this part of eternity. Agility is a part of the boundaryless paradigm. Now, I will tell you there are 4 types of people, because when we're trying to then look paradigm as a framework to actually be able to look at peoples in the organization. 4. And he looked at that, there were all kinds of people. You find, and also you find those people. I try to actually take that back on through his own analysis to see if I can actually challenge my church to find out how it is. And actually find that there are four sets of people. And in my office, there are 5 sets of people. So it was really a big study because that his book is it's almost 1,000 pages. It took me time to read the whole book. It's a big book. So, in developing the principle of boundary, like Jawel came up with his fourfold, what he called managerial typology. The typology applies to every one of us. It applies. I've seen it. Some people have seen some, this is where some teaching, they say, don't bring secular teaching onto the church. Because those people who say so, they don't understand, because they don't spend time on those secular teaching to actually see where is the source. Because if the source of those secular teaching they are from the scriptures, why don't we bring it back to help the church? So they don't read those things. They just mount the pulpit on a Sunday. Don't bring secular teaching to the church. I was at a meeting where, where one of the ministers, the man who was sitting as the chairman of it, he said, don't go and bring those ideas from UAC to this place. And the ideas were essentially biblical. But some people are using it in the office. I said, don't bring them to the church. So what do you find in the church? Stagnancy, because they refuse to use those principles. So that's why I want to share these 4 principles with you. We came from the work of Jack Welch. They are not my work, but I've tried to apply them to see, and I can see where they are from the scriptures. Because if you actually go to Luke 14 from verse 28 to 31, you will begin to see some of these things. The man is not referring to the Bible, but when you see it, you see how these things are positioned. When you also go on to what Paul was talking, when he spoke about Diotrephes, he spoke about all kinds of people who were in the church, Onesimus and the rest. They were all of you could fit them into one of these 4 cubicles within the framework that developed by Jack Welch. Number 1, apostles. See him using the word of the scriptures. Apostles. He said apostles, they deliver on commitments and share organizational values. Those are called apostles. Inside the company, they deliver on commitments. So if now you say you are to deliver on commitment, you are to go and evangelize, you are to go and produce 10 tons of bread, you do it at the time you have to do it. And you are doing it not by killing somebody, by doing it by motivating others and encouraging them. So, apostle delivers on commitments and share organizational values, values of respect for one another. They don't do it by killing people. You don't jump to become a general overseer by killing somebody else on the way. No, they don't do it by that means. They do it by godly principles. In which you lead on to the top. So those are called apostles in that typology. So can this one not apply to the church? So they call it secular knowledge. Is that secular? It's secular, of course. It's using his company in GA. But at the same time, you find that it's rooted in the scriptures. There's a convergence. Number 2 there is the terrorists. Now who are the terrorists? They neither meet commitments nor share the value of an organization. Oh my God. So many churches have these people. They won't come to church on time. They won't walk. They will always find mistake in what the pastor is doing. They will find mistake in what the other person is doing. They are always so critical. They are always judgmental. Yet, they don't share the values of the organization. They are not disciplined. If you discipline them, they will run away from your church. They will go away. So they are there. I pastor them across nations in 2 or 3 different continents. So when it is written in the book of the man that there are terrorists in his own office, they also apply in the church. Terrorists. They neither miss commitment or share the values of the organization. Then number 3, there are 4 categories. He calls them disciples. Disciples, they miss on commitment, but share the values of an organization. You can liken somebody like Zacchaeus. You can call Joseph of Arimathea a disciple in the scriptures. Why? They actually share the values of Christ. But they were not totally committed to following Christ everywhere he went. So at the time Christ was dead, somebody needed to go to the king, give it to me, because he actually was a disciple of Christ, but he was hiding. We have so many hiding disciples in the church. They won't want to, if you then say, oh, you are son of bad church, they think that will pigeonhole them. So they are disciples of Reverend Bad, but they won't say it. So you find that it's there in the scriptures. And you find also in the company. You find disciples there, so they fail on commitment, but they really share your values. So you then have the fourth one. Those are the four categories, and I'll soon be bringing to a close. And the fourth category, because I want to relate them to the 5 levels of the wedding place. So the fourth category is called mercenaries. In G, it said they deliver on commitment. They force performance. They do not inspire people. They do not share the value of the organization. They are called mercenaries. In other words, if you tell them to produce 10 bread, they will produce the 10 bread for you. But in produce that 10 bread, they could kill 5 people. Because they are forcing performance. Rather than influencing and encouraging people. They will achieve it. The same way apostle will achieve. You say, go and give me 10 houses in 10 days. They will also give it to you. But in that 10 days, maybe they would have killed 100 people in the process. In those 10 days, they will not inspire anybody. In those 10 days, they will not share any value. But you told them to achieve. Those are the people who say the end justifies the means. When people justifying the means, every time focusing on that, they are likely to be mercenaries. Whether they are in the place of work or whether they are in the church. So these are the 4 categories that Jack White identified in the boundaryless paradigm that he enunciated. Don't we have those 4 kinds of people in your own organization? I do, in my own. I do. I have them in my own church as well. But our prayer is always be, how do we move everybody onto a disciple and ultimately to become an apostle? And when you're an apostle, you focus on God, you believe in and you carry the values of Christianity. Now, the levels of wealth. I want to begin to connect that onto the levels of the wedding place. Only apostles can achieve the 2 dimensions of the wedding place. Only apostles. So if you want to achieve the 2 dimensions of the wedding place, the earthly and the eternal, you must be an apostle. You must be an apostle of Jesus Christ. In other words, when you're an apostle, you deliver commitments and you share the values of Christ. Now, only apostles can achieve the 5th level of the wedding place. Mercenaries can achieve only a dimension of the wedding place onto level 2. So they can achieve a dimension, and that dimension is the earthly dimension, not the eternal dimension, but they can achieve that earthly dimension to level 2. Now, disciples can achieve the 2 dimensions of the wedding place, but they will achieve it of the wedding place to the 3rd level. So you can see it. So disciples can achieve the 2 dimensions, the earthly and the eternal dimension of the wedding place, but they can only achieve it to the 3rd level. They don't move beyond the 3rd level. Those are disciples because, they like the values, but they are unable to actually reproduce what they are supposed to do. So they don't fulfill purpose on it. Okay, so I want to really thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you watching. And that's where we are going to end the episode today. May the Lord bless you mightily until I come your way next time. God bless you. Thank you.